Welcome back to Bowers Creations. It happens to be the first day of 2026. I hope everybody is enjoying your New Year's Day, and I have another 4-day weekend. I'm having a problem though. I really want to put out another fun video, work on some cool projects, but I also have priorities. So unfortunately, this is where I got to spend the first couple days of my 4-day weekend. Sorry about the lighting in here. I don't have a light installed right now, and as I move around, the camera is doing funny things. But I replaced the insulation and sheetrock in this room about 4 months ago. And I got a buddy of mine. He thinks he owes me something. I don't believe he does. But he's scheduled to come help me mud and tape this tomorrow. But I have a list of things I need to get done. First of all, I need to trim my windows out. I haven't ever put the sheetrock inside the window. So I need to get that done, get the corner bead put on. I need to treat my ceiling. There's several places where I rip the paper when I was scraping the popcorn. And I also have, watch out for my wife's plants, one more wire I need to run. I need to get it to a future location up out of here, and then I could put on that last piece of sheetrock. So that's the first couple things I want to do, and then maybe we could do some mud and taping tomorrow. While I'm inside doing chores, here's something I'd really like to be playing with. It's a 12,000 pound Badlands winch. You know, I almost made it through the 12 days of Christmas at Harbor Freight without buying anything. Then the very last day of the sales, this popped up for $180 off. I have plans for my other winch you'll see here in a minute, but I'd love to open this up and play with it. I also have some parts I'd like to put on the Jeep. If you remember, I'd done a 1-ton steering upgrade on the Jeep a while back. The steering brace and track bar came with it. My track bar was good enough for what I needed at the time, but I'd like to get this stuff put on the Jeep. I also have a steering gearbox. I'm having issues with my steering. This one's used, but I'd like to put it on the Jeep to see if it changes anything or helps anything before I throw some real money at it. I'd also like to play with my new welder. My brother sold me his welder for a good price. This is a little bit of an upgrade compared to what I had. This is the Pro 140. It has a gas solenoid on it. It didn't come with any gauges or anything, but I'd like to get it set up and play with it, see how much better it is than mine. I had the Weld Pack 100, and something else I'd like to do is mount my new vise. My wife got me this vise for Christmas. This one's a piece of garbage, so I'd like to play with them. So another fun project I'd like to play with is this winch here. I want to build a receiver hitch for my trailer so I can mount this onto my trailer, and then I want to put this on a receiver mount. That way I could use it on the back of the Tahoe, on the back of the Jeep, or on the trailer. It'll have several uses. Unfortunately, I can't do that today either. Finally found me a chance to sneak out here to the garage. I'm making pretty good progress in the bedroom in there, but I'm tired of that. That's just dirty work. I mean, look at me. I'm covered in mud. I'll give you an update here in a minute, but I wanted to come out here and start working on my winch mount for my trailer, and I guess I need to take care of this garbage first. So I got a little bit of scrap lumber. This is stuff left over from the trash to treasure build. You'll have to check it out. But I think I'm just going to make me a little L bracket, nail and glue it together, drill me a couple holes and mount it to the wall. Then I could just clamp those to the bracket, get them out of the way. So I think that's going to work just fine. Like I said, I got me some little L brackets. Every bit of this came from that trash to treasure build, like I was saying. I think I'm just going to put me some brackets on here to help support everything. Now all I want to do is lay out where my studs go. I done found my center. 8 inches each direction from there. Now we're going to rearrange some stuff and screw it to the wall. It's going to work out about perfect. All right, finally got a chance to look at this thing. Got the table cleaned off. And this is what I decided to mess with. I didn't feel like wrenching on the Jeep too much. Of course, we'll change out the winch here pretty directly. But this project lets me do some fabricating and planning, which is one of my favorite things to do. And we get to try out some of our new tools, like our Hercules 3-inch impact or 3/8 impact. Let's get this dug out of here. I just seen one of these on eBay or maybe his Amazon, that looked real similar for $50. This one's $79 at Harbor Freight. Of course, I didn't read too much into it to see what thickness metal or anything it was. This one's 1/4 inch thick. But we're going to zip this together real quick, and then we're going to start taking measurements and planning my build for the receiver onto the trailer. New day out here in the shop. I got pulled off yesterday, so we didn't make it very far. I had a friend stuck down at the river. The reason why you don't see the Jeep in here right now, it's loaded up on the trailer. But we got this put together yesterday. I've done a ton of measuring, mocking up, and I think I'm going to use it. It's going to stick out into the trailer about 8 inches, and I really didn't like that. I only have a 16-foot trailer, and that 8 inches comes in handy on some vehicles. But I'm going to build it for what I use it for, which is primarily Jeeps, junk Jeeps. And if I can't help someone tow their car or it runs into an issue, we'll solve it at that point. So there is one thing I'm going to do. I'm using a reducer. This is for your 3/4 ton hitches. It's the 2.5 to 2 inch reducer. And it's got a 3/4 pinhole, whereas the assembly only has a 5/8 pinhole, and it's causing a lot of play. So at some point, we're going to drill the hole to this to 3/4. I'm going to get me a 3/4 pin, and then the next thing I need to do is I'm going to cut this hitch down. I could cut about 1.25 inches off the back, and I'm down to inches. I'm trying to get every inch I can. So once we cut that, I'm going to start building some templates for the bracketry to weld this to the trailer. And that way, when I get a chance next week sometime, I could take my templates over to my dad's or my brother's house, use their plasma cutter, and cut out the pieces. So that's what I'm going to start on now. So I've pulled out my trusty little WEN saw we bought. I got a review on this thing, if you're interested in one. And I'm hoping, I've done a lot of research, I'm hoping and praying that this receiver tube isn't hardened steel. Everything I looked up said it's probably not. So hopefully we don't ruin a $50, $60 saw blade. But we're going to try to cut this thing off and get some measurements to start building a template. Just like butter, cut that thing clean off. A little bit of burrs, still cool to the touch. That thing's cool. That saw sure does make a stinking mess, though. It throws stuff everywhere. And I wanted to change my oil on my Tahoe later. I just swept the floor, and I guess before I get down on the floor, I'm going to have to sweep it again. But it is what it is. I got this piece of 4x4 square tubing. It's going to represent the front of the trailer. I actually have 4.5 inches, but it has a radius just like this does. So we'll probably make our bracket to where it comes down 4 inches, and that way I can weld around it. And then I put a mark here. You probably can't see it. I got 3 inches here on the front of the trailer, but we're going to go 2 3/4. And what I was able to do with that is I know the farthest I want to be from the front of the trailer is 8 inches. That way I got room to turn the jack handle. So if I measure from this line, about a 10 3/4 square, or 10 3/4 is that way. And then I know I want to be less than 8 inches to the top of that. So holding that roughly in place, about 9.5 inches. So I could cut me a square about 9.5 by 11 and out of some 1/4 inch MDF, and that would kind of give me something to start playing with to mock up this bracket. So I know, at least with my dad's plasma cutter, I've never used my brother's, if you're going to use a template to draw around, you need to subtract about 3/16 of an inch on your template, because that's about the difference from the nozzle edge to the center of the nozzle. So we know we want 2 3/4 there, minus, so that make it 2 9/16. We'll draw us a line there. And then we know we wanted 4 inches this way, roughly. So we'll go 4 inches minus 3/16 gives us 3 13/16. We'll mark that there. Let me cut out this square because it's going to sit just like that. Now the next thing, we know we wanted 8 inches from the front of the trailer to the back. So basically I could run this over to the table saw and cut it off till this distance is 8 inches. And now get that piece lined out. And then we'll have to come up with a design. So I told you I was going to cut it 8 inches to this point, but I took off 3/16 of an inch like we was discussing earlier. And now I'll mark my receiver tube. I put the 3/16 inch mark on it, so it's hanging over the 3/16, and I can mark it back here. And that kind of gives me a reference point when I start designing this bracket. So I got me a few reference marks on there. This is going to be what's sitting on top of the trailer. I think I'm going to arch that a little bit. I found me a washer. We're going to line it up and mark that. And it'll round off just like that. And now I want it to make some kind of design here. So I'm going to find something, probably a pretty big radius, and we'll draw that in and then connect the dots basically. So that's something, kind of what I'm thinking. I just done me a little arch here. Disregard this. I forgot about the 3/16 again because I need 3/16 on this side and this side for the plasma cutter. Found me another arch here, and then I just joined them. So that'll be a pretty cool transition there. And now I got to start designing this one. It's going to be pretty much the same thing. Come up and come over, something like that. Let me get it drawn up, and then we'll cut them out. So disregard all the squiggly lines. This on the first one was getting a little thin for me. I am going to put several gussets in here, but I wanted to thicken that up some, so I drew it again. Here, let me cut it out. All right, so that's what I came up with. I went ahead and cut 2 of them. I only need 1 for a template, but I wanted 2 so I can sit here and play with it in the shop. And how this is going to work is that's going to go on there about like that. And then this will weld in just like that. And I'll have 1 on either side. But what I'm wanting to do is actually angle that some. So I'm going to figure out how to do that and build a template for that piece. So I went ahead and found me a piece of 2x6 to make that shape out of I wanted. That way I could temporarily screw my templates to it, and that'll help me continue mocking it up. So it ended up a little bigger than I wanted. I wonder why that happened. Oh, because I cut this at a miter. I wanted 5 1/4, and I cut it 5 1/4 this way. But once I mitered it, it obviously got bigger. All right, so I got lazy. I didn't want to screw it and risk it moving. I could have pre-drilled the hole so it didn't move and screwed it. But these little brad nails will come out real easy. So I'm not too worried about it. Pop it a few more times. So now they'll sit approximately like that. Let me turn it so you can see it. Can you see that? Let me get the camera a little bit better. There you go. And then this piece will sit just like that. We'll have this gusset here and probably put in another gusset down here. Just for strength purposes, I'll be able to weld all the way around here. Probably put a gusset right here so I can weld the gusset to the trailer and to the bracket. So I think I'm liking that. I just need to get it over to my brother's house and cut the pieces. All this will be 1/4-inch plate when it's all said and done with. That should be plenty strong enough. So I went over to my brother's house last weekend and used his plasma cutter. But his plasma cutter is not ideal, and it left me hours of grinding. I probably got 2 or 3 hours of smoothing this out, getting it to where they're the same. If you see here, this is what's left. I still got to get this corner cut out. But his plasma cutter kept tripping the breaker. I don't think it's set up right. Just not ideal. So instead of doing any more grinding, I'm tired of grinding. I'm going to take a death wheel and I'm just going to recut this square out, smooth it out the best I can that way, and then I'll come in and grind what's left. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then we'll start welding the bracket together. I'm so glad I decided to use a cutoff wheel instead of trying to grind that out of there. It's pretty dead gum square enough for welding, and it only took me about 5 minutes instead of another 30-45 minutes of grinding. So now I just need to bevel my edges real good, do some final cleanup on it, and I think we're ready to start trying to assemble it. Of course, we got other pieces to cut out, but for the most part, the brackets will be done. So one thing I did when I had my wooden jig set up is I put me some marks on the inside of the jig so I'd be able to find my angle again, and then I put me a square mark across the top here. And that's what this angle iron's representing. It's clamped right on the line. So now I should be able to take my piece, set it right on that angle iron like so, line it up with the line, and now I can put a few tacks to hold that in place. I'll do the same thing on the other side, then we can start working on welding in the receiver tube. So I took my Klein angle finder, I found out what my square tubing was sitting at, and that's how I'm going to align my receiver tube to get it perfectly square or level or plumb, whatever the case may be, with the trailer when it's welded to the trailer. However, I'm just about to make a huge mistake with this project. So if you remember, I was telling you the hole on this reducer was a 3/4 inch hole. And when I put my pin in, it was causing a whole bunch of play. So what I was going to do, in fact, I even went as far, my wife got me a 3/4 inch drill bit for my birthday. I was going to drill this hole out to 3/4 and get me a 3/4 pin. However, it dawned on me just this morning before I started drilling that the hole on my Tahoe is a 5/8 hole. The hole on the receiver on the Jeep is a 5/8 hole. And basically every receiver I've ever seen has a 5/8 hole. So if I was going to do that, I was going to make a huge mistake. So I went out, bought me a different reducer, but I need to cut it. I need to cut a little bit off this side and a little bit off this side to make it work. And then I'll clean the paint off, get it ready for welding, and we'll be able to burn it in. Got it all cut down, got it lined up, ready to burn a few tacks on it. Then we'll wire brush it real good to get off any of the prosperity from the tacks, and then burn it in really well. So I've been lacking that kind of power for a long time. I don't know if something's wrong with my little welder or if having that extra power really helps. Now, I'm still not a welder. As an electrician, the worst thing you want to do is arc stuff out. If you remember our gusset, it fits in there almost perfectly. There's about an 1/8 inch gap. We could take a little bit more off to make it fit good. But I got some 4" by 3/16 plate. We'll build us a gusset that fits down in there. And then we'll build something that fits along here. And this thing should be super strong. So I came out here last night off camera. I made some pretty good progress. The first thing I did is I built this gusset here. It's ready to weld in. It'll weld in about right there once I get it all straight. I also made this gusset. It's at a 1/4 inch angle, 2" by 1/4 inch angle. It'll basically hug the front of the trailer. So it'll give me a whole lot more weld surface when I weld it all to the trailer. And then I got one more bracket to build here in a minute. But I also made some good progress on the Tahoe for this project. The cold seemed to have snapped my battery. Battery went to crap. You know, I've owned that thing for 8 or 9 years. I don't remember ever putting a battery in it. So I can't complain. I may have, but I don't remember. But I was able to get me a battery yesterday that not only had the side terminals for the Tahoe connections, but also had top post. So that's going to allow me a good connection source for the winch when the time comes. So some good progress. We're going to keep moving along. I'm ready to burn all this in now. I got it prepped. I just need to find my order of operations, or the order I'm going to do it in, and start to melt metal, I guess. So I've got everything pretty much welded. I'm pretty happy with it. Got the gusset welded in all the way around. Got the angle iron welded all the way around. So pretty much I'm need to clean it up, but I want to be able to attach a clevis here or some kind of D-ring. That way, if I need to run a snatch block, I have a point to tie back to. I do got clevises on either side of this on the trailer that I could tie to, but it'd be cool to have a center point, I think. I may be just overkilling it. And the only thing I'm having trouble with, I got some 3/8 flat strap, but I need to figure out how to cut my angle so it fits in there how I want it. The best thing I came up with is I went back to my 1/4 inch MDF and I cut me a piece that fits just in there, just like so. I put me a mark that represents the top of the angle here. So that's my height. And in theory, what I think I should be able to do is take a piece of 2-inch MDF, a strip of it, line it up with my mark, and then no matter where this bottom lands, as long as I'm lined up with my mark, I should be able to cut that corner as well. And so I'll just take it, I'll trace it here and trace this corner, and then we'll try the template before I try the 3/8 plate or a 3/8 flat strap, whatever the case may be. Once I get it cut how I like it, I could drill a 3/4 hole or a 1/2 inch hole in here so I could attach me a clevis. So there's a better indication of how I'm doing that. I just found me a center mark, put my corner there, and then this lined up on my mark on my other piece. So that's what I need. I'm gonna cut it out. We'll go test fit it. That's why I like this 1/4 inch MDF for templates, because it cuts easy. I don't have to pull out a miter saw or do some funky cuts on the table saw. I could just cut it with a hand saw when I got odd shaped cuts real quick and continue on. So I know it's hard to tell. That's actually fitting pretty dead-gum good. But if you notice, it's coming way down here. And I wonder if I could cut an inside corner out that'll fit on that angle better. So I'm going to try one more time. Put me a little reference mark right there so I know where to 90 it off. I got me another template piece. We're going to trace it and try it one more time. See how that works out. All right, I got the new piece. Let's see how this works. I think we're going to have to come in from the top. And that is absolutely perfect. That's going to add a lot of strength for me, especially being 3/8. And then I could drill me a hole right here to be able to put a clevis in and have me a place to snatch block to, or just another tie point, really, which is always nice on a trailer. So I'm going to start cutting this out of the 3/8 plate. Decide on a hole diameter. I'm thinking 5/8 to 3/4. Well, I just realized, luckily before I cut anything, I almost made another fatal flaw. So I got to looking at my template, and there's not really enough room to get a clevis in. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board. I'll show you what I come up with. So I think I got me a plan figured out. It's still a little tricky on getting a bigger clevis in there, but I cut me a second little piece. We're just going to tie it in like that. I readjusted the first one, and then we're just going to tie this in like that. That'll give me plenty of spots to weld it. I'm actually going to make it just a little longer so it'll stick out. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm about to start cutting these pieces out now, and then we'll get them welded in. So here's this last piece that I came up with. I ended up having to bob this off so I could get it in there. So this is made out of 3/8 steel, and it'll take a 5/8 clevis, which is good for 3.5 tons. If you get an alloy clevis, it's good for 4.5 tons. So that should be plenty. I mean, I'm just winching old cars up onto a trailer or Jeeps. So I'm not really trying to recover someone that's stuck. If I need to do that, I'll do that straight off the hitch of the Tahoe or use the Jeep altogether, which has the winch bumper. So all I need to do is burn this in, clean it up one last time, and we're done with this part of the project. Well, I got my receiver mount finished up, or at least as far as I'm going to go in this video. I don't want to deal with the snow and cold outside. I'd like it to be a little drier before I start grinding the paint off my trailer and exposing it to rust. So I didn't have a whole lot of room to work with. That kind of helped me develop the idea. My jack handle's right here, so I have about 2.5 inches of clearance for my hand to go around without busting my knuckles. And then I also have removable rails on my trailer. They'll ride right here. This should be low enough that anything I stick in there should still pass under the rails, but I rarely put the rails on my trailer anyways. I use it more of a car trailer, so that shouldn't be an issue. As far as the winch mount, I think it looks pretty cool on there. Um, it gives me a little bit of height for when I'm winching a vehicle. Hopefully my cable doesn't rub too hard on the back of the trailer. I am looking at a way to put a roller back there, but I don't want to interfere with the breakover angle. I don't want to lose any clearance there. I've had some longer cars or lower cars get pretty close when I'm pulling it up on the trailer, so I don't want to interfere with that. Having the clevis attachment here gives me the option to run out to a snatch block and come back to here. Plus it gives me another tie down point on the trailer, so those always come in handy. Now, another idea I've come up with, this was just hindsight, was maybe I'm hauling a little trailer on top of my trailer. Once I get the trailer pulled up, I could put a hitch in here. Now, obviously, I'd want a raised hitch, but then I'd be able to hook the trailer to this ball, tie down just the back of the trailer, and that should be sufficient for hauling a small trailer. So y'all be sure to tell me in the comments below what you think of this thing, critique it, give me your opinion, and I appreciate you watching. As always, if you like this type of content, the creating, the building, definitely hit that subscribe button, but hit that notification bell as well. Watching these videos as soon as they release or as close to it as possible really kicks a video into high gear. So if you want to help me out, definitely do that for me. In the meantime, I appreciate all the likes, the comments, keep them coming, and until we catch you next time, I really hope the blessings rain down on you. Surely you didn't think I'd let this video expire without an update on the room in here. Got the electrical in, the one wire was needing. I even have a temporary light hanging now. I could work on it during the nighttime, but it's coming along pretty good. About ready for texture. Then of course we'll be painting. The one main area I need to do a lot of work on is going to be the ceiling. I'll probably skim coat the whole ceiling. But moving right along, we'll be doing window sills in the closet before too long. We'll make a video of that, so make sure you stay tuned.